Hello, welcome to program Important Issue. I'm Zarina Kozova, and we are going to discuss about religion in modern society. Today our guest, per moment representative of the World Evangelical Alliance to the United Nations in Geneva, Гаэтаном Роем. Mr. Roy, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Zarina, for having me.
And my first question is about your participation in this forum in Astana. What's the main goals of the participants of current from Astana, and what's the essential global issue would you to pay attention?
Well, my movement is the second largest church movement of the world, with 600 million Christians in 147 different alliances. And my main job at the UN in Geneva is to address situations with challenging countries. So the reason that I came to Astana is because many countries are represented here. And even today, different people talked about spiritual diplomacy, that the role of religious leaders have a particular uniqueness to it, because we believe in certain values, compassion, love for humanity, things like that that could make a huge difference. So my role is to engage in a lot of these conflicts, to build relationships with ambassadors, with religious leaders, that eventually foster enough trust that we can start talking about solutions. And this is a very unique occasion here in Astana, because many religious leaders from all around the world are here, from some of the countries where we also have challenges in. So we engaged without any press, without any newsletters, in a very discreet way, and build relationships with them and try to find solutions.
Okay. What is the essential global issue would you to pay attention?
What, pardon me?
What's the essential global issue would you to pay attention, you think?
Well, we need to come back to humanity. Today we have a lot of people who like to talk about how terrible the situation is. But what we have is less people who are willing to engage when there are no cameras on trying to find a solution. And so just talking about it is not enough. And I usually coin it this way. I say we need to become part of the solution. So we don't just talk that we need a solution, we engage in trying to find solutions. And in some very complicated conflicts, it takes years just to find a small solution. But religious leaders have different mathematics. Our mathematics is, if you do nothing, you have a 100% chance of failure. But if you do something, you have a small chance, a small probability that maybe you can change something, and that's worth it. So we have a different type of math that we use to engage in these issues. If you want to do this to become famous, it's the wrong place. Everything we do, nobody knows about. We do it very discreetly. And this is what it means to become part of the solution, to invest yourself, to find solutions where people are being killed, where religious buildings are being burnt, to try to find solutions so that we can work better together. So we want to become ourselves a solution to find solutions.
Okay. In your point of view, has this forum, this Congress, changed as a global platform?
Well, in our efforts to try to combine people together to work towards finding a solution, I have a few people here that I want to talk to during the time I'm here. But just this morning, I was talking to somebody I did not know was going to be here, and we just talked about one common problem that he also wishes to address, and we've decided, hey, let's work together on this. So already some of the fruits of your Congress are unexpected, but are helping us to bring more peace to the world. So I see this as a very unique opportunity to be able to do this type of networking. You never know what's going to come out of it.
It is obviously from the first forum of religion in Astana in 2003, the world has changed dramatically. What's the main challenges and problems of modern society? What are you personally concerned about it?
I'm concerned about people who make their point of view the only point of view, or people who make their religion the only religion. It's interesting that if you look at people that are maybe 50 years above or people that are 30 years below, that the youth today, most of them don't care about these issues anymore. Don't care in the sense that they don't split the world and this is us and this is them, that they're not good. The youth is much more inclusive today. So there's a sign of hope in this in many nations. And people of an older age usually tend to be the ones who stigmatize, who stick to certain religious precepts that are exclusive of others. So I see that we're developing on the global environment where we have conflicts now that are based on some of these issues. People do not believe in working together as a human being, but people are looking for their own benefit. And this is one of the huge challenges. I mean, in my living time, I have never seen the world in a bigger mess than now. In my job in conflict resolution at the UN in Geneva, I have more work that we have ever had because the amount of conflicts are arising. And so we need to engage to try to resolve these. But the conflicts are arising because of people who are pushing these conflicts, who are making them happen, who are just looking for their good, but not looking for the common good. So it's tough. Looking at oneself, individualism, nationalism are all fruits of things that lead to conflicts.
Okay. I think maybe one of the most significant change of the modern world is a total digital transform in society. What do you see? How has it affected on human spirit? What you can offer to reduce the negative effect of digitalization?
It has a few dimensions. The first thing is that people do not verify the sources anymore. So yesterday I saw a post in social media of somebody who was propagating something that I know is not true, coming from a portal that is very well known. And he keeps posting these things. Now, it's a very intellectual person that I know, but this is very leftist, it's very tainted, does not present the truth. They bring forward false information, but he doesn't verify it. He just believes it. And I recommend to anybody, if you're working on social media and you don't recognize the source, just ignore it. Because a lot of the stuff that you will see is wrong. It's just fake. The second thing is AI is creating a big problem. AI can be a huge opportunity. So just this week I was looking to find out something about a medical issue that I wanted to know more about. And I just put it in, and it came up with a whole bunch of options. I talked about it with my doctor. He says, well, this is exactly right. So that's a good advantage. But AI starts to filter out the things that you like and the things that you believe and give it to you more and more. So if you come from an extremist background and you like a certain truth that is extreme, that excludes other people, that creates conflict, AI will start feeding you these things even more. And you start to believe that this is normal and that most people believe this, but it's the AI algorithm that is often set to give you news feeds that represent what you believe. So if you live in an extremist environment that only tends to believe one truth, you will tend to be fed this information even more. So there's a great challenge here in AI to be very discriminate, be very careful about what's coming. And many governments are now realizing that this is an issue. and are addressing these issues and are asking what can we do to make the AI algorithms more inclusive, not just represent the one side, but represent the other side, so that people realize it's not only about this, there's a lot more to this to understand the whole truth.
What do you think of the role of the modern religion and secular state? Hasn't changed?
Modern society is becoming more secular, at least in the Western world. It's definitely becoming more secular. So countries like Germany, that was the spiritual base of the Reformation, of Martin Luther, where everybody used to be a Christian. Today, part of the population is still Christian. There are many other religions also in the country, but part of the population is nothing anymore. They don't believe in anything, and this is of course affecting how religion is developing in the country. You have some countries in Europe that have completely eliminated the relationship between religion and the state, so it becomes just humanism. So what do I believe? Today we heard several times that about post-secularism. And post-secularism means that actually religion around the world is actually growing. My church, the evangelical church, is now over 600 million people, and it's growing. Not so much in Europe, but in Africa and South America and in Asia, it's growing very, very fast. So it's a different development depending on where you live, but if you don't have the role of religion in your life today, where does the understanding of the common good comes from? Where does the understanding of compassion comes from? Where does the understanding of forgiveness come from? Because without compassion, without forgiveness, we're not going to solve the problems of the world, the big problems that we have. You can't go into a problem and say, well, let's just forget what happened, let's do it differently. It doesn't work. You have to say, look, let's look at what happened, what can we do about it, let's forgive ourselves for some of the things that have happened, and with that, let's try to move forward to bring something better. And does humanism bring these values? What are the values of humanism? The values of humanism is it's about me, it's about what I want. That is not what helps us. So I do believe that we need more religious values in our society today, because part of the problems that we wish to resolve are based on the common religious values that we have on compassion, on forgiveness, on love for humanity. And not that humanists don't have this, but the whole compendium of all these values you find automatically in religious values, and you may not find them automatically in humanism. And we need more of these values today to be able to resolve the situation. So we have one huge conflict right now that we're working on at with different organizations at the United Nations in Geneva, organizations and countries. And one person who is quite key in managing some of these very complex efforts he says, Gaëtan, honestly, there's no hope. We're not finding any way. And you have to do this. So why do I have to do this? I just represent a church, not a country. He says, yeah, but you understand religion. You have religious competencies, and this is exactly what we need. Now, I don't know if you're going to be successful in finding a solution to this issue, but I think the probability of you finding a solution is much higher because you understand religion. You can relate with the religious leaders in the countries that are involved here. And so I have. But this is what I mean. He was a humanist who was telling a Christian, you have to engage in this. We need this. So I think that answers your question. This is about some of the top-level diplomacy that we have in Geneva, and they're actually looking for more religious competencies to come into this. And I found it interesting today that the theme about spiritual diplomacy came up from a couple of people today. And that's exactly what it needs. It's diplomacy with a different set values, but predictable values like compassion, like forgiveness, like love for humankind.
Okay. And my last questions, Mr. Roy. In your mind, what is the way for the forum to be more active?
I think the forum has to encourage people to give examples. If I would have been talking this morning, I would not have talked about principles. I would talk about one principle and give an example as to how we're applying it. It's okay to talk about the principles, and a couple of people who talked, I decided I need to go to see them.
It's motivation, yes.
Yeah, it's nice, but it's nicer to see what has somebody done that's far enough that you can talk about it. So some things I do, we are moving forward, but we have to keep it under wraps. But I can still give examples of what we're doing without naming the countries, And I believe one of the important things we need to do to even make it more encouraging is to give people examples of things that are actually working. What are the principles we're applying, and what does this mean? So not just about we believe in these common values, but more about, look, we believe in this, but we've engaged, and look what's happened. So I recently went to a country where Christians are executed almost daily. I have videos of executions. It is not nice to look at. It's not nice. And churches are being burnt, or other churches of Christians, but other religious buildings of other minority religions are being burned. So not just about the Christians, but the Christians are a bigger group in the country, so they're more affected. And what did I do? I brought different people together. So Muslim leaders, Christian leaders, and I said, what are we going to do about this? And even the Muslim leaders of the country were saying, this is terrible. We're ashamed that this is happening in my country. So I said, yeah, but we're talking about principle. So I said, that's not enough. What do we do about it? So we've decided that, okay, we have two ideas that we wish to propose to the government. Fine. So I went to the government. I went at the ministerial level, and I said, we have a proposal. It's not going to reduce extremism this year, but if we do this several years, it will start to change perceptions of people who have extremist thinking, and we can start moving forward and having less of these events. It takes years to resolve these problems of perception. And the minister said, can we be part of this? I said, yeah, of course, we wanted to ask you if you were going to be part of it. So it's an example of engaging, of trying to find solutions to go forward. So I would recommend to the Congress, make sure you have enough people who don't only talk about principles, but also give some good examples, because that's even more encouraging. It's encouraging for me to hear principles about people, from people who say things that I think, oh, that was really well worded. Yeah, I agree with that. But I find it even more encouraging when somebody says, we've applied this in this particular situation, and look, we've solved part of the problem. That's even more encouraging, I find.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your answers. It was program Important Issue, and I would like to remind you that you can read all the important news on the website VIІI News Agency. See you soon.